The story began in Nitro, in a Monsanto factory that produced a powerful herbicide called 2,4,5-T. In 1949, an explosion in the factory provoked unexpected side effects. Explosion in the factory.
Past policy has made a forcible case for this company's continued adherence to electronics, to energy. But the future of Thorne Industries lies not only in solar energy, in shale oil, in the force of gravity. Our profitable future, gentlemen, is also in famine. We now possess, potentially, the most formidable force in the world for large-scale agricultural endeavors. However, we have to guard against the indigenous populations ever thinking we are in the business of exploitation. We are not. I emphasize that. We are there to help. Yes, Jane?
Mr. Passari is working on the P-84. You asked me to let you know when he got there.
Thank you. Gentlemen, take a half-hour break. The oil countries didn't hesitate to put their fingers on our jugular vein. So, what's so different about food? If you've got a knife at your belly, you'll keep your hands at your sides. Why then call my policy unethical?
It's callous and inhuman, and in my opinion, illegal.
What is inhuman or illegal about feeding people?
Telephone, Mr. Thorne.
I'm not available.
It's an emergency, sir.
Bill's point is if we control the food people eat, it's tantamount to making slaves of them.
Ah, customers.
But you want us to buy up their land.
That's right. Thorns already have the hardware and knowledge that's easily adaptable to the purpose of large-scale and highly sophisticated farming. This, together with the pesticides and fertilizers we're producing, give us the jump on any governmental or corporate entity in the world.
If we control their land, we make them tenants.
Bill, we make their bellies full.
We are now about to enter a highly complex experimental area where the use of toxic chemicals, we hope, will one day feed the world's hungry.
Uh-oh. What's wrong?
Shut down P-84! All right, everybody, back the way we came. Hurry up! Shut down P-84!
It won't shut off.
Oh, my God!
In a Monsanto factory that produced a powerful herbicide called 2,4,5-T. In 1949, an explosion in the factory provoked unexpected side effects. 228 workers developed an extremely disfiguring illness called chloracne. It's caused by dioxin, which is a highly toxic byproduct of 2,4,5-T. T was the main ingredient in Agent Orange, the defoliant used by the U.S. Army during the Vietnam War. During the war, 40 million liters of Agent Orange, containing 400 kilograms of pure dioxin, were sprayed on trees in southern Vietnam. 3 million people were contaminated, including thousands of American soldiers. Even some 40 years after the end of the war, dioxin continues to claim more victims. We know today that this poison provokes cancer and serious genetic malfunctions.
Everywhere you look, people are grumbling, and in many cases rioting, about the high price of food. Before you buy a 20-pound bag of rice at Costco, consider hoarding shares of Monsanto, unquote. It's true. While the rising cost of food pushes millions around the world into deeper hunger and scarcity, agricultural companies like Monsanto are posting record profits. The top seed maker in the world, Monsanto's stock has gained 95% over the past year and 1,600% over the past 5 years. Monsanto's profits topped $1.6 billion in the first quarter, up 37% from the same quarter last year. Monsanto rose to prominence as one of the leading chemical giants of the 20th century, but its focus today is agriculture. A company statement says, quote, "At Monsanto, we apply innovation and technology to help farmers around the world be more successful, produce healthier foods and better animal feeds, and create more fiber, all while reducing agriculture's impact on the environment."
In fact, 70% of the food in American stores contains bioengineered elements. Unlike Europe, consumers cannot make an informed decision because GM labeling is forbidden, a direct consequence of the principle of substantial equivalence.
They said PCBs were safe. They weren't. They said Agent Orange was safe. It wasn't. And they're saying now that genetic engineering is safe, and it's not.
An application for a patent on pigs. Are pigs an invention or the common property of all of us? Who owns the pig? Genes on pig DNA, decoded and described by the Monsanto Corporation of America. But these genes have always been there. Will we soon be forced to pay fees for nature's heritage?
It is a very, very big business plan, and it includes control of food, from the seed in the field to the fork.
Monsanto, company headquarters in St. Louis, Missouri, heavily guarded like the maximum security wing of a prison. This is where the idea for a worldwide pig monopoly was born. In the lab, scientists are hard at work on an ongoing series of new patents. The goal is worldwide domination in the field of food production. Monsanto began by manufacturing insecticides and later went on to genetically engineer the plants themselves for greater resistance. This allowed the plants to better tolerate Monsanto's own crop sprays. Of primary importance was that everything could be patented.
Patenting is all about control, and Monsanto is all about control. You know, they're already the #1 seed company in the world, and they control those seeds through patents, through government monopolies, so they and only they can use those seeds. The common heritage of the world, the seeds of the world, are now owned primarily by one company that has them in monopoly.
So that's what the case is all about, and that shows how Monsanto can get control over the seed supply and food supply through cross-pollination, direct seed movement, blowing in the wind or whatever. It doesn't matter how it gets there, the court's ruled. You don't own your seeds or plants anymore. So it would give them, the corporations now, total control over the seed supply, ultimately the food supply.
When the U.S. began its occupation of Iraq back in 2003, one of the stated goals on the part of a lot of policy people behind the scenes was to turn Iraq into a model for the next generation of neoliberal economic policies, to impose a level of forced privatization and corporate dominance over every area of life that goes far beyond anything we've seen really anywhere in the world. There were 100 special orders that were imposed by Paul Bremer when he was the administrator of Iraq under the first stages of the occupation, that were established in a way that they could not be overturned by any future Iraqi constitution. Order 81 had to do with control over seeds, and it made it illegal for Iraqi farmers to plant seeds that are not certified by some international authority.
We have to guard against the indigenous populations ever thinking we are in the business of exploitation. We are not. I emphasize that. We are there to help. We are there to help. We are there to help.
It's in committee right now, and that very few representatives have read it. Apparently it will be devastating for everyday folks, but great for factory farming operations like Monsanto and Tyson, to name a few. I have no doubt that, this is again the Campaign for Liberty saying, they have no doubt this legislation was heavily influenced by lobbyists from the huge food producers. It's so broad-based that technically someone with a little backyard garden could be fined and have their property seized. It will affect anyone who produces food, even if they do not sell but only consume it. It will literally put all independent farmers and food producers out of business due to the huge amounts of money it will take to conform to factory farming methods. If people choose to farm without industry standards such as chemical pesticides and fertilizers, they'll be subject to a variety of harassment from this completely new agency that has never before existed. That's right, a whole new government agency will be created just to police food for our own protection, of course.